All right, good afternoon, and welcome to another Forage Center conversation. Give you a little bit of background about the Forage Center and what we do and these Forage Center conversations before I introduce our discussant, our presenter, our guest today, Marc Antoine. I'm David Smith. I'm the president of the Forage Center for Peace Building and Humanitarian Education. We are a 501c3 corporation based in the Washington, D.C. area. Our focus is providing humanitarian and peace-building education and training opportunities for professionals and students who want to work in conflict and disaster situations. One of our primary programs is an annual and sometimes a biannual full immersion simulation that we run at our site in Western Maryland, where we invite American graduate students to attend and to experience for a few days what it would be like to work in a humanitarian crisis. We also offer Friday or monthly, I would say, Forage Center conversations, which we have just recently restarted, where we bring professionals in the field to share about their work and humanitarian assistance. These professionals range from people who are very senior to people who are just starting off. Last month, we had our presenter was Alexandria Aurora, who just recently started working at Refugee Services of Texas. So we were actually looking at a kind of a domestic take on how humanitarian work finds itself in the United States. So a couple reminders before we start. This is being recorded, and after the session, this will be placed on our YouTube channel, and you will receive information about that. The other thing is that we use Zoom meetings for these sessions. If you do not want yourself to be seen, then make sure your camera is off. If you don't want to be identified, then change your name. Otherwise, I encourage people to have their cameras on. This tends to be a small, intimate conversation, but it is a conversation I do want to encourage people to share with each other. So let me introduce Marc, who is our guest today. So we're really glad to have him. Just to give you a little bit of context, I know Marc through the master's degree program at the University of San Diego, of which both Marc and I sit on the board. Marc Antoine grew up as a Haitian immigrant in the United States in Philadelphia. His upbringing in a vibrant Haitian American inner city Christian community fueled the fire for holistic transformation of people and communities through the integral mission of the church. The story of Nehemiah inspired Mike to return to his homeland of Haiti and contribute to this transformation. Since 2015, Marc has been living in Haiti. I know he's now recently moved to Orlando, and he can tell us a little bit about that, and working for Tearfund UK. Marc currently serves as the country director in Haiti, as well as the director of diaspora engagement for Tearfund USA. He studied both theology and international development. He earned a master's in divinity and a master's in international development. He is an ordained pastor, author, and social justice advocate. He is married to Stephanie, and they have two baby boys, Nehemiah and Hezekiah. Marc is also the founder of For King and Country Foundation, a faith-based not-profit dedicated to youth development through sports. And I'm intrigued to find out about that, because I'm all about how do you use sports to promote peace building and reconciliation. So I'm glad that you're joining us, Marc. Glad to see you. I think we were talking beforehand. You're now actually in Orlando, primarily because you got these two little boys, and you want to kind of be in a place that provides a little bit more stability for them, my sense.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Thank you so much for having me on, David. I appreciate it. Glad to be here, and glad to be with everyone.
So tell us about Tearfund's work, and then tell us about your own journey to Tearfund and kind of the things that you've been focusing on.
Sure. So Tearfund is a Christian international NGO based out of the UK. Started back in the 60s, actually, when there was the Biafra War in Nigeria. And during that war, the church in the UK said, we should probably see how we can help out somehow. And so the Evangelical Alliance in the UK put some money together, and they sent over to the churches in Nigeria and said, is there anything that you can do, again, around this peace building idea of responding to humanitarian needs? Is there anything that you can do to respond to the needs there? And out of that, the church in the UK saw that there was so much appetite for churches to contribute. And so they started, and here goes one of my boys here. And so they started sending more funding over, and that's how Tearfund started as an organization. Sure, can you grab yeah, so that's how Tearfund started. So currently Tearfund works in over 50 countries worldwide. Haiti is one of them. We are in the Latin American Caribbean region. Yeah, and so I got involved with Tearfund. Actually, I first heard of Tearfund when I was in grad school. Tearfund is known in the NGO space for producing resources and materials, and a lot of free resources. So if you go on Tearfund on the website, I mean, you'll have resources on everything from WASH to food security, peace building, child protection. I mean, there's a lot of resources, training materials. And so in grad school, we used their project cycle management tool to learn about project cycle management. And after I finished grad school, I was able to land an internship at Tearfund in Haiti, which was a dream to be able to go back home to my home country. And then after my 4-month internship, I was asked to stay. And I've been in Tearfund ever since. So that's back in 2015, and it's now 2022. And I've been working and serving there for the past 7 years.
You know, the story of Haiti, it's a long and complicated story, but it's a country that struggled, right, in many ways. Lots of good people have worked in Haiti, lots of great efforts, but you know, and some of these, and you know, some of what has happened to Haiti over the years, you know, are an earthquake, you know, these things that are not even people caused. And so I'm always impressed by the resilience of the Haitian people and the dedication of the Haitian diaspora to go back and to do what they can do to fix things. I mean, I imagine growing up, you were just immersed in following what was going on in Haiti. And those were the years where there was governments that lasted and fell, and lots of things were going on.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, there was always a dichotomy when it came to Haiti, because Haiti is a revolutionary country in terms of Black justice. I mean, we're the first Black independent nation. We in our region, we're the second country in the Western Hemisphere behind the USA to be a free nation.
Yeah.
The USA in 1776, Haiti in 1804. And so when you compare, you know, countries that are, you know, independent now, you look at the years, Haiti's very early on, we defeated the French. One of
the fun facts I remember is Frederick Douglass was the U.S. minister to Haiti.
Yes,
people don't know that, right? So
yeah. And he gave a world-renowned speech at the Chicago Fair back in the early 1900s. Talking about the relationship between the U.S. and Haiti. Yeah, and so I mean, we defeated the three world powers at the time: the French, the Spanish, and the English, and the only successful slave revolt. And so I grew up learning that from my parents. Like, wow, this is like Haiti's such a beacon of light for Black justice, and not only for Black justice, but for the entire Latin American community. We gave Simón Bolívar safe passage, equipped him with arms and, you know, with men to go and fight, and he went and then led it freedom for the rest of South America and Central America with Haiti's help. And so, you know, we grew up with that, but then I grew up seeing nothing good about my country after that. I mean, you turn on the TV and Haiti was just poverty and war. And so there's always this, you know, this dichotomy of so much pride for coming from that, but then also just the desperation that I saw, and knowing that my parents, were refugees, and well, along with me, because I was born in Haiti, and so my parents and we left Haiti when I was quite young, and just hearing the story of why they wanted to leave and how they left, there was always, this challenge of trying to balance that, but unfortunately. Now it seems like what was going on in the 90s was relatively light with what's going on today.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard from the outside to say, and I don't know Haiti, and all we know is what we read is that, okay, Haiti's the way it is because of this or because of that or because of this or because of that. One of the things that I do know is the abject poverty in Haiti is a factor. Poverty is a factor everywhere, right? And trying to alleviate the standard of living of Haitians has always been kind of an effort.
Yeah.
But we're not able to move the dial somehow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. First of all, poverty is critical to all of this, I would think, right?
Yeah, I mean, poverty is, when you look at the numbers, about 80% of our country is impoverished. And, we're talking about the standards of living on less than $2 a day kind of numbers. Right now we have almost 50% of our country that are food insecure, and this is coming off the back of compounded crises. And so we've had earthquakes, the major earthquake in 2010, we had a recent earthquake in 2021, we had a hurricane back in 2016, and we've had recurring hurricanes since, not to mention all the political upheaval that's been going on. The president was assassinated last year. There's been massive kidnappings. I mean, the country has been on lockdown for the past number of months. And so all of this contributes to this cycle of poverty. And, it's compounded crises. You have crises on top of crises. And so that's the challenge that, it makes it almost impossible for people to get out of this.
So tell me a little bit. I mean, I know it's not a pleasant story, or it's not a pleasant assessment, but what are the conditions on the ground in Haiti right now? I mean, what I read is gangs are basically running much of the country. There's, we hear about kidnapping of NGO workers. I know I'm asking for kind of the darker stories, but then I want to talk about the good things and ask you some of the good things that are happening in Haiti. But where are things right now in Haiti?
Yeah, I mean, things are very dark. Things are very, very dark and very, very problematic. Kidnappings have been an issue for the past couple of years. And I mean, much different than, there were kidnappings back in 2004 and 2005, but those were more high scale. People are kidnapping people, people who are known to have money. People have been kidnapped in the past couple of years that are just street merchants. Kids have been kidnapped. I mean, it's this general kidnapping, which is very problematic. And this comes because there's so much corruption. The police are corrupted, the government is corrupted. Corruption is entrenched in almost every institution, and so because of that, gangs are now taking entire towns, and there are entire places to the south of Haiti. There's a town called Matisan that leads to the southern peninsula of Haiti, and you just can't get through. Gangs went in early last year and essentially just kicked people out, and those people, were IDPs, and it's been a ghost town in what was a very densely populated town. And you just can't drive through, for risk at, being shot or taken. And so it is a very unfortunate situation, one that even in the worst days of Haiti, my uncles and people that I know who were around for that say that they've never seen anything like this. So it is a very, very dire situation at the moment.
Yeah. What, I mean, it is bleak. And so I'm going to get some hope out of this. And what I want to start with is, what can faith-based organizations such as yours, I mean, your faith-based NGO, Haitians are people of faith, be it traditional faith or Catholicism or more Pentecostal-based, people are faith-based. What can you do, and what are you doing not just Tearfund, but other organizations that are working?
Sure. I mean, I'll start with Tearfund. Tearfund, the whole idea of working through the church is that NGOs will eventually become obsolete. I mean, I don't know what the lifespan of an NGO is, but they weren't always here. And as we know, it's like Haiti, they don't always stay. But the church will always be around. The church can get into places where NGOs can't.
Mhm.
Pastors can have conversations with gang members that NGO directors cannot.
Okay.
The church door, is always open and always provides an entry point and access to the community. And so, for example, last year during the earthquake, it took a long time to get assistance to the south because the gangs were controlling Martisa. But do you know who was able to get there and who was, because they were already there? Church. And so the church was able to respond to the needs of the people in Neep, Glendas, and Sud because they didn't have to travel to get there. They were already there.
Right.
And even though gangs threaten, people in communities, they often still have a lot of respect for church leadership. And the pastors in the community can often reach them and come to terms to say, hey, let us feed these people. Let us get help to these people. Let us get here and bring these people who are sick to the hospital. And so because of that leverage, people were able to get assistance. And so Tearfund, we were able, through our church partners, we're able to respond to the needs of those people within the first 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went to meetings with the UN, the government and the UN were unable to get there. And Tearfund, we already had assessments. Wow. We already did our first distributions of cash. We already did our first in-kind distributions because we had that church partnership there.
So what are you doing? Are you distributing food, cash? What's the type of work, the granular work that's going on in Haiti right now? That would give us a sense of hope. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been, over the past year, we've been distributing cash. Mm-hmm. The first part of that was multi-purpose cash. So basically just giving people cash for whatever they needed to buy. But then we transitioned to cash for shelter. So helping people get cash so that they can rebuild their homes after the hurricane. So a lot of roofs came off, a lot of homes are destroyed, getting people cash so that they can rebuild their homes. So that's been a program that's been going on for the past year, which is wrapping up now. But we're now getting engaged because there's been a recent spike in cholera.
Yes,
which is
that,
not good news. And so now we're doing cash so that people can respond to their water needs. And that people can, get hygiene materials. Women can get the materials that they need as well. So we're doing a lot of that. And we're also doing response to IDPs because of this gang issue where they're controlling so many parts, the gang wars, they're, controlling so many parts of the country, of the metropolitan area of Port-au-Prince. We're looking at helping, especially women who are pregnant and women who have recently given birth, to get them into transitional homes.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, so that's the humanitarian work that we're doing at the moment.
I hate to sound more dark, but I know, I've heard accounts of sexual violence, and there's a lot of kind of brutality these gangs are using against people, which is just horrific.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, I know that I think there's a cholera vaccine, isn't there, out there? I mean, is that being used in Haiti, or is that just not out there yet?
I'm not sure of the cholera vaccine. There are, different types of medicines and things that people use. Typically in Haiti, people are against vaccines. And so even by the grace of, God, COVID was not a major issue in Haiti. I don't know how or why, but I don't think there were 1,000 people who were infected in Haiti, and definitely deaths were not in the hundreds. And so there was not an issue of COVID. But the vaccine was sent to Haiti. The Haitians, by and large, did not want to get vaccinated. And so they actually had to ship vaccines back stateside so that they wouldn't, go past the expiration date. And so generally, the Haitian population not very open to vaccines. And I think a lot of it is because of trust.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I one last question, then I want to turn to those of us, we're a small group, but hopefully I'll get some questions. One of the, and this, we talked about this beforehand, and sometimes we think about faith-based NGOs, there's a misconception, and I'd say it's a misconception, that, well, faith-based NGOs, you know, we're there to save your soul as well as save your health, kind of a thing, to do them at the same time. So this concern, and be quite frank with you, a lot of the concerns in the Muslim part of the world has been the concern of proselytizing among Christian faith-based organizations. Now, Haiti is a Christian country, so maybe it doesn't play out the same way. So this is often raised, and it may very well just be a red herring. People are just raising it as an argument. But address that for a minute, that misconception out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a valid question. It's a valid question for Tearfund and for many other Christian NGOs like us. One of our points of emphasis is that we do not proselytize. So we are not going out preaching anything. We serve people regardless of their faith. Now, we do it based on our faith, believing that our faith teaches us to respond to the needs of our neighbor. So, you know, the reason and our purpose for doing what we do is faith-based. But we are not then going out and trying to get converts. The international standards of humanitarian work, like CHS core humanitarian standards that we subscribe to, that we sign on to, you know, prohibit that. And we are very clear about that. Yeah, so we do not proselytize. Our work is, you know, responding to the needs of people, all people. Yeah, and so I see a question here. Can we explain the terms around NGOs and IDPs? Yes, so IDPs is probably the easiest one to start off. So IDPs is just internally displaced person. And so when you have war or gang fights, people who are forced to leave their homes and then are without shelter or without anywhere to go, they are internally displaced. And so at the moment, because of the gang fights in Haiti, we have thousands of people who are sleeping out in public parks, public spaces. And these are groups of IDPs. In some countries, they may try to put up shelters, have shelters for IDPs. In Haiti, the government is against having tent cities and having shelters. And so
Can I pick up on that, Mark? Because Haiti is an island country and shares it with the DR, with the Dominican Republic. There are a lot of Haitians who become refugees in the DR, and that's become a problem with the Dominican Republic, or they get on a boat and come to the United States, and that's a different issue. What's that like along that Dominican Republic Haitian border, and Haitians who go into the Dominican Republic, how are they being treated there? And then I know she also asked about what NGOs are, so I don't want you not to answer that question.
Yeah, unfortunately, the situation in the DR is very problematic for Haitians. I mean, just recently, there's been a lot of Haitians deported from the DR. Haitians go there for work, mostly working, sugarcane fields and agriculture. But the situation for Haitians, to be quite frank, is deplorable with how they get treated there in the DR. So it's been quite tough over the past number of years for Haitians in that space. To respond to the question around NGOs, so an NGO is a non-governmental organization. So an organization that goes and does the work that governments are either unable to or ill-equipped for. And so when you think of NGOs, you may have heard of organizations like World Vision or Compassion, Save the Children. Hopefully you've heard of Tearfund. If not, you're hearing of us today. So these are organizations that do development work, humanitarian work, advocacy work.
And all those organizations you mentioned are faith-based organizations. World Vision,
Exactly.
Save the Children. We don't
Exactly.
necessarily know that, but they are, and they may be more well known than Tearfund.
Yeah.
But they're all kind of doing the same type of work. So let me take some questions. Peter, Will, Jillian, you just open your mic if you want to ask a question of Mark and the work that they're doing. Peter? Okay. Will, you have a question? Jillian? Jillian already asked the question. You have another question from Jillian? Go ahead, Jillian. I can't hear you. Oh, that's yeah. Sorry. What's your question, Jillian? No question, Jillian? Anybody want to put a question? Oh, how can people help? Okay. Jillian's asking a question. How can we help?
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think one that I'm often that's a lot like what can we actually do? I think the first and foremost, the biggest one is awareness raising. People many times just aren't aware of what's happening in places like Haiti, especially because it doesn't make the news much, depending on where you are. So awareness raising is a big one. Advocacy is something that's always needed. And so, you know, after raising awareness, really advocating for certain things. At the moment, this gang issue is a big issue. And so you have gangs that are fighting against each other. And the question that most Haitians are asking in Haiti is, where are they getting the guns from? Because guns aren't made in Haiti. And so if guns aren't made in Haiti and guns are coming from Miami, you know, then there's a lot of questions that need to be asked of our brothers and sisters stateside. And so I think, you know, a lot of the advocacy that Haitian civil society are doing in the States right now, you know, is really lobbying for, you know, an end to this arms traffic, and that's contributing to these issues in Haiti. So I think that's a big one. The other thing I wanted to kind of go back to is really this idea of faith-based organizations. I think one of the things that Tearfund, you know, along with core humanitarian standards, the principles of impartiality, principles of neutrality. We don't take positions for or against any government, and we don't serve people based on color, racial background, sexual orientation, ethnic background. Our response is solely on the need. And because we have partnerships with churches across the country, we're able to really get, for example, Haiti's motto, Tearfund's motto is following Jesus where the need is greatest. It's a very Christian thing to say. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, we try to get to where the need is the greatest. And often where the need is the greatest is where governments cannot get to. Mm-hmm. Where the need is the greatest is where traditional NGOs cannot get to, mm-hmm. because the need is so great there. Because it's often blocked off because of, you know, conflict, armed conflict, or maybe because of inaccessibility due to roads, logistics. But there's always a church there. Mm-hmm. And so our network allows us to have tentacles where the need is greatest.
Peter has a question in the chat there, I see.
What are the prospects of getting a UN peacekeeping force in Haiti? So there has been a peacekeeping force in Haiti for quite a bit. It's called MINUSTA, which left in some form a few years back, and it was replaced with a justice force called MINIJUST from the UN. And there are conversations of a multinational force to re-enter Haiti, which, depending on whom you ask, is received with tears or joy. So it's a challenge. I mean, the Haiti, like I said, the situation in Haiti is deplorable at the moment, and it's really hard to see how we can get out of this, which lends towards this idea of getting some help. But then we also know that receiving help has, in the long term, always led to worsened conditions. It's never led to an improvement in the long term for us, and so that's the challenge.
I was talking to my friend who was the country director of DAI, and he was saying that one of the challenges in Haiti is that who does the peacekeeping force come in support from a government standpoint? Because the government is really not functioning, at least his assessment is the government's not functioning. So in the past, it would come in and buttress the government, right? So is that kind of one of the challenges right now, is that what do they do when they come? Who are they supporting, right?
Yeah. And that's the challenge. And then the other question is, even so, I agree the government is not functioning properly. But even if it was functioning properly, if the government is complicit in the problems and implicit in the problems, then where are we, where are we getting, how are we improving? If the people are asking for the government to be changed, which is what's happening currently, but then you have a peacekeeping force that's supporting the government, essentially, you're working counterintuitive. So that's the challenge. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thanks for asking the question, Peter. Any other questions? If anybody's entering, where else is Tearfund working around the world? I think we talked about.
So we work in most, not most, but in quite a number of countries. In the LAC, we work all throughout Central America.
Okay.
LAC, I mean Latin American, Caribbean, and so Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala. We also work in South America, so Brazil, Colombia, Bolivia. In West Africa, we work in a number of countries like Nigeria, Ivory Coast. We also work in East Africa, Southern Africa. We work in Asia as well, so Philippines, Nepal. I mean, 50 countries all over the world.
Your headquarters are in London?
Headquarters are in London, that's correct.
Okay. Now, we were talking beforehand that you're starting to change your role. You're not going to be country director soon. You're moving to something else. So tell us a little bit about that and what you're trying to accomplish in that work.
Yeah, so moving away from Tearfund Haiti, I'll be working now for Tearfund USA. And with Tearfund USA, I'll be heading up our programming work, so supporting countries like Haiti and other countries that Tearfund USA raises funds for. But I'll also be looking to mobilize diaspora groups. So, I mean, diaspora groups, for example, the Haitian diaspora sends back billions of dollars to Haiti. Not millions, billions of dollars to Haiti annually. More than what the budget of Haiti is. And so there's
one of the things that when you say that, I think about how many high-profile Haitian Americans. Joe Biden's press secretary is Haitian.
Yes.
Right. Yamiche Alcindor, she's Haitian.
Yes.
Haitian Americans are at the top of the media groups, top of journalism. Haitian Americans have really thrived in the United States, haven't they?
We have. And it's amazing. And so the idea is, really if we have so much impact financially, we're sending back billions of dollars in remittances. That's not a small amount that's not an unimportant amount of money. We're also influencing culturally. We also have family back there politically. If we can galvanize and mobilize Haitian diaspora to contribute in a more organized fashion, maybe there are some things that we can do together. And so that's the idea. Can we mobilize different diaspora groups in the US? So the Brazilian diaspora, the Nigerian diaspora, the Chinese diaspora, what have you, for impact back home. And so if that's, hey, let's adopt a town and say, hey, in this town, we're gonna raise funds over the next 5 years to see if we can transform that town as a pilot and see how that happens and leverage all the diaspora resources to that. What could that happen? And so that's what I'll be working on.
So you're going to be traveling a lot throughout the United States, or working mostly from Orlando?
Yeah, I'll be doing a lot of traveling throughout the U.S. A lot of traveling throughout the U.S. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. And it's
whenever I'm in the DMV, I'll give you a shout.
Yeah, but it's stabler when you got a couple kids, and I can appreciate that.
Yes, I mean, like I said earlier, my risk appetite before marriage and before children was through the roof.
Yeah.
My risk appetite now that I'm married and with 2 baby boys, quite low.
Yeah.
And so
well, and I think that's good. Then their job is to get other people to step up.
Yeah.
And who maybe were where you were 10 years ago, who can
exactly.
step up and take those roles. And then we get other people who kind of commit to doing, albeit risky work, and
it is.
and things that it's not only physically risky, it's mentally risky. There's a lot of things that come into it, but we have to have hope. We have to feel that there are answers in a country like Haiti, because there's such a rich tradition in Haiti, the culture of Haitians, the food of Haiti, the traditions of Haiti, everything is just so great about it. But it's just a problem. It's just a country's plagued with so much. And like we were saying before, it's like, you've got the problems with people and criminality, but then you've got earthquakes and hurricanes. And it's like, how do you get out of that? I remember in with the earthquake, I mean, one of the big problems in Haiti during the earthquake was building codes, right? And that's a government issue, right? Is that you can have an earthquake and it can have very little effect because your structures, but that wasn't the case in Haiti. And that was because there was corruption and a lack of enforcement of building codes, right? So one problem feeds into another problem, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Such a cycle, compounded crises, and really makes it difficult for people to rise up. And I mean, Haiti is the size of Maryland, if we talk about geographically.
Right.
So it's not a huge country.
Right.
About 12 million people.
Right.
And so, all your thinking and logic says that it shouldn't be that much of an issue to transform this nation.
Right.
But for some reason, we just haven't been able to crack that code yet.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the work that Tearfund is doing, and especially the work that you're doing. Any other final questions before we let Marc go and close it out? Peter, Will, Jillian, anything else you'd like to put in the chat? No, Jillian? Good, Jillian.
I was going to say, so how have you been able to survive there in Haiti? I mean, to keep yourself and your family safe. And I know you said the medical care is, was challenging, and, you got the 2 small children. So I know that, and your wife, of course, going to need the medical care. So how have you been surviving? And then if others wanted to do some humanitarian work, then what advice would you give them? Because it sounds like they might be kind of discouraged. I mean, you're just telling the truth, of course, but I mean, I don't, it'll be a tough sell.
No, Haiti is a tough sell right now. So I mean, we've been in Haiti since 2015, and when I moved to Haiti and when my wife came to Haiti, it was nowhere near what it is now. And so we were able to travel throughout the country. And Haiti was, has always been, a country where you need to take precaution. There's always been poverty and things like that, but it was never this issue of kidnapping and gang control. It was not like this at all. And so for the majority of our time in Haiti, we did not have these issues. Our kids were in daycare and, we had no issues, but it really started to turn in probably, early 2021. And then it really was exacerbated after the assassination of the president. And for those reasons, we decided to leave Haiti. It just got too risky with our children, not willing to take the risk of kidnapping. But I mean, for humanitarians, people who are humanitarian at heart, some people live for that kind of stuff. And it always intrigues me how every time I go back to Haiti, I'm planning on going back soon. And every time I go back, I see people who are, groups who are going, and I'm like, where are y'all going? But people, I think there are people who are really built and really dedicated to respond to the needs of people, even in these very hostile environments. And thank God for that, because Haiti does need people like it. But there are, you know, a lot of precautions that need to be had when you travel to Haiti. And just to kind of put it in context, there are countries that are, you know, worse in terms of security. Places that, you know, very difficult to even land in. And so with all that's happening in Haiti, I think it is still a place that needs humanitarian workers with the proper training, with the proper support, with the proper networks in Haiti. I think it's still a place where people can go and lend support and do what you can do. So I think the Forage Center does a great job of equipping folks. And if there are any, you know, anyone who's interested in learning more and would like to get connected, I am of support and can also lend a hand there.
Thank you, Mark. It's a great offer, and like I said, we do. I think the last couple exercises we've done, we do get Haitian Americans who do this kind of work. I know when we were running the program in Florida, we were getting a pretty consistent stream of Haitian graduate students, you know, from, we were working with Nova Southeastern University. We were working with a couple other schools in South Florida, where you have, you know, Haitian Americans who kind of want to do this kind of work. But, you know, it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, that's the other thing to recognize. You know, one of the challenges is that you don't want to be the problem when you go. In other words, and one of the things that's always the concern is that, say you're deployed to a country and you're a problem because you can't adjust, something's going on with you, then the mission fails, right? So that's why training is so important. That's why preparation, expectations are so important. Right, you know, I mean, and you know, you were saying about NGOs. I mean, I remember during the earthquake, there were flooding with NGOs in Haiti, and a lot of them should not have been there, right? And they were all well-meaning. A lot of them, maybe some were church-based or little communities who want to go out there and say, we got to do the work. But when they got there, they were the problem because they weren't prepared. Not that they weren't intended, it's just that they weren't prepared, right? I remember that during the earthquake, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, Haiti's known for being a republic of NGOs. And I think we had maybe the third or fourth most NGOs per capita.
Yeah, well, that's because it's an hour and a half flight from Miami, you know, so like you can go, right? So people can fly from Miami or Toronto or whatever, and they get there in no time. So that's an easy thing to do, but that does become a problem because the NGOs then have to live off the society. Yes. And you think, okay, well, then a benefit that an NGO worker is getting is that taking away something from the Haitian, right? And you don't think about that all the time, right? Yeah. Good question, Jillian, and thank you, Peter. So I think, you know, we'll leave it there. Mark, it's really great for you to be with us. If you can put in your email in the chat so that that's also in what we post on YouTube, and maybe Tearfund's website, and then we can kind of share that out also and let people know. But thank you for being here. It's a small group, but we will do, like I said, post it on YouTube and share it out. I will also share it with the folks in the program at the University of San Diego so that they can get this, see your interview and listen to what you've had to say. So best of luck in Orlando with your little boys and your wife. I certainly can appreciate that. When are you going back? You said you're going to go back on your own soon, back to Haiti? Yeah,
so I should be back in December.
Okay, and how long would you stay there?
Just a couple of weeks. Hand things over.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, David.
Yeah, and good luck with that, and be safe.
Will do.
And then we'll be in touch. So thank you, everyone, and we'll call it a day. And have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks again, and thank you, Mark. Bye-bye.